Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I guess you can call it a podcast, and we are here today to talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac. Um what is this? It is Reunion. All right, I'm not gonna cut it out, guys, because I just don't feel like cutting it out. So sorry, I couldn't remember. It was the Reunion part 1. And I would like to give a shout out and say thank you to my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. I see each and every one of you that has a picture. But I appreciate you guys so much. Welcome to the beautiful family. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do. All right, let's get into it. All right, so the episode opens with Andy running around, before the show starts, seeing the ladies as they're getting dressed. He goes to Karen first. She says she's excited. She looks pretty. He goes to Ashley. Of course, she's doing something inappropriate. She's always inappropriate. Her dress isn't on. She's holding her boobies. So then she's holding her dress up to the, her dress up to her boobs. He's like, should I not be in here? And I'm like, she doesn't care. It's fine. He goes to see Giselle, and she says, I think we need to have conversations. I think we've done enough name calling, and we need to have conversations. I'm like, girl, this is not your first time at this rodeo. Ma'am, you know exactly what's about to go down, and it's about to be way more name calling than what happened in the season. Not to mention, y'all, I just really think Giselle is pressed about Wendy not caring about her. She wants to be Wendy's friend. I could be wrong, but I really do feel like she don't want to go back and forth with Wendy or whatever, because Wendy really gives off the I don't give a fuck attitude, and Giselle's not used to it. So yeah, she's not trying to argue. She wants to just have a conversation. And her makeup and hair is pretty. Okay, then we have Mia, and she's saying, it's interesting to see what people really have to say. I guess she's talking about in the confessional, and she's like, why don't you just say that to my face? Was she or was she not the biggest one that was a confessional gangster? She was the biggest confessional gangster, and I remember being like, why isn't she saying this? I was like, why aren't you saying this to them? She said so much stuff in the confessional. Mia is a character. All right, I have to do like the official YouTubers do, and I have to talk about the looks. Let's talk about the looks. Wendy, I didn't really like her look. I didn't like that big thing that was happening on her shoulder. I wasn't about it. I mean, her face and everything, fine. Her makeup was pretty. She's fine. But that dress, I wasn't feeling. Mia was pretty. Her dress was fine. Mia's hair was super cute though. I really like little short bobs like that. And I think Candace's hair was cute. Love a short bob. I just do. Even though I have long hair, love a short bob. Ashley, her hair looked fine. She, I didn't like her whole prom dress. It was just really giving prom dress and nothing more. Nothing more. But I did like the tan. Y'all know I love Ashley in a tan. She's pretty with the tan. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I call her Ashley? I meant to call her Darby's Barbie. Ew. No, really, ew. Ugh. All right, Karen comes out, pink dress. It's cute. Giselle comes out, pink dress. It's not super cute. It's not the worst. She looks fine. Robin comes out. She's a disaster. She's a disaster as usual. I really think, you guys, that Robin is worse than Giselle. I do. I'm sorry. All right, so he goes around the room speaking to everyone, and then we get to, some kind of way, we get to Giselle's fashion, and Karen says, listen, don't expect anything different. It's just going to be where it is. Giselle still has the same, stylist that she's had for years. And I'm like, that's why there's been zero improvement, ma'am. And I think Robin is borrowing him or her. But yeah, she takes it in stride. I really do think, you guys, Giselle takes the whole fashion thing in stride. She does. She doesn't get too upset about it. It's not a huge deal. I like the way she's able to handle that. Candace even puts her 2 cents in about, the way Giselle dresses. And Giselle's like, I don't always agree with what you wear. She's like, what I wear, that's wrong. Other people would wear it. Like, she's just being feisty. And Giselle's just like, I can't remember, but, it looks good on you. So, yeah, I really do. That's one compliment I can give her. She takes the whole fashion thing in stride. So then they cut to a tape of Nicki Minaj saying that she can't make it even though she really wanted to. She looked a hot ass mess. I'm sorry, she did. I think it was the way the video was. It was all grainy. It was awful. It was terrible. And she is a mega star. Why are you putting up stuff like this? Like, why? They could have definitely done that better. But I really think they didn't care because she's going to be there. So the ladies are like, oh, that's really dope. Cool. All right, so we starting off with Mia, and we get the whole montage of Mia just being very honest about being a stripper, everything that she had done. And why did it sound like she said she had 4 boobs done? She had 4 boobs. But she was just being very honest. I honestly thought I was going to like Mia from the first episode, where she was just being brutally honest. She did not care at all what they were thinking, but she did end up being messy Mia, as a scholar called her. So Andy goes around to see what first impressions were. So he asked Candace, what was your first impression of Mia? She's like, my first impression, I loved her. And she kind of left it at that. So he goes to Giselle. Giselle's like, listen, at first, I loved her. I loved how candid she was, how open and honest she was. She's like, and then we hit like a little rough patch or whatever. And then Candace joins in with, she's a liar. She was lying about everything. And Giselle is like, yo, why didn't you say that when he asked you? Like, he asked you first. If you have more to elaborate on, why didn't you do it when it was your turn? So Mia asked Candace what she lied about, and she's like, the whole thing and the surgeries. And yeah, so Andy's like, did you get a clitopat or plastic or whatever he said? And she's like, I had a lot done down there. She's like, my surgeon said that it's all kind of the same. Tell those girls to grow up. So then they going back and forth, of course. He's like, so is that like a mommy makeover? And Wendy's like, no, it's not that. I'm like, shut up, Wendy. Because I'm assuming she got a mommy makeover. But then Ashley is asking her, did you have C-sections? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, because I'm wondering. And I'm like, Ashley, did you have your kids through your butthole? Because I'm wondering why you needed anal surgery. Like, what did you need? Ugh. So then he asked her, was she a stripper? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, yo, she already said all of this. I just don't understand why these girls are acting like she didn't already own up to being a stripper. She didn't already own up to taking her clothes off. Yeah, she said she walked around a gentleman's club and they didn't have a pole, but she never said she didn't take her clothes off. Like, Ashley even said that, yeah, you gotta wear these gowns, you gotta show some stuff or whatever. So when he's asking her, Andy's asking her right now, she's like, yeah, sure, I showed some stuff. Like, what the hell? Who cares? She already said that. She already said that she met G. Apparently, G was a high roller. He helped build the VIP. I just don't understand why these ladies care so much. She's owned it. Like, why do you care? All right, so she said, yeah, she met G in the strip club. It was not love at first sight or anything. She did not start falling in love with him until he helped out one of her friends, who I guess she's Haitian, and they had the earthquake and he was helping her out. And she's like, oh, okay, he has a heart. He doesn't just run around the club with no shoes on. And I'm like, ugh, that's so G. It's so nasty and it's so G. Believe it or not, you guys, after the commercial, we are still on Mia. And he's asking how her and her mom are doing. She's like, we're good. She has my kids now. He asked how she felt about the show and everything. She said, well, first of all, she said she's going to pray for Candace. Candace is like, negative. She can keep her prayers. No thanks. All right, so a viewer made a comment. It wasn't really a question. It was just like, she's saying that it's frustrating to see Mia act like she's so self-made when G actually gave her the franchises. She says no, he's on different accounts. He's not on the one that she made prior to him. So I guess the whole massage envy was her thing, she's saying, before G. And when he asked, is he on there now? It was kind of like, yeah, but no. I don't know, it was kind of confusing. G is on that shit. So a viewer said, Mia, you are a huge flip-flop. 1 minute, Giselle has a beautiful heart. The next minute, you don't like her. And she says, well, I go off of the way I feel at that time. I could like you today, you do something, and I don't like you tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you, I don't like you. And what's her name? Giselle's like, nah, that's a lie. And I'm like, that is a lie, girl, because you not once told any of them you don't like them. So then we get the montage of Mia sending the text to the Green Eyed Bandits, telling them that, they can talk to her did she say attorney or her assistant or something like that, if they were talking business, or either, she don't have anything to talk to them about. So he's like, was Karen, well, he asked Giselle, do you think Karen was in her ear? And she's like, 100%. Then they show Karen, kind of breaking down Robin and Giselle a little bit. So, yeah, Karen kind of was in her ear. I can't lie. So Karen says, me as a grown woman, and what I like about our relationship is we're not up each other's butt. She's going to do her, I'm going to do me. We're not codependent. And I'm like, pew, pew. She was shooting at Robin and Giselle. Robin, where's your mind? Get a mind of your own. All right, so then we get to Giselle, and he's saying how her relationship is over, but it has remained topic of conversation. So we get the whole montage of them talking about her man, her cheating guy, Jamal, and all that. So we get back to the reunion, and he's like, yeah, so what's going on with the commentator? She's like, yeah, it was casual. We're not talking no more. He's like, if he was a commentator, then Wendy definitely knows who that was. Wendy's like, yeah, I don't know who that was, but I know a commentator who says he dated her. And she's like, yeah, Wendy don't know him. And then some kind of way we get to Van Jones. And Wendy's like, nah, it wasn't Van because she's not his type. He likes women with integrity. And I'm like, are we talking about crying Van Jones? The one that cries all the time? Okay. But it's funny because as Andy was saying Van Jones, then, he kept saying Van, and then Giselle was like, Jones, yes. So it kind of made it seem like that is who she was dating. I don't know, but again, Wendy with the whole he wants women with integrity. Everybody's like, and Giselle just laughed it off. She was just like, ha. All right, so we go to break. We come back. We still talking about Giselle. Giselle, what's going on with your house? Andy says, because, is it all coming together? It looked like one cohesive house because it all looked like a bunch of different houses. And before she could speak, Robin jumps in. Oh my God, no, it's getting better. I was like, damn, Robin. And apparently the entryway is pulling it all together. Karen's like, don't lie. Yeah, I was dying laughing. But he asked about the purple wall. Purple wall is gone. It didn't match her floor or something. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what it did match. So then he asked her about Grace, getting her permit and everything. And Karen says, yeah, was she mad at you for kind of showing that she wasn't a good driver? She says, no, Grace is a good sport. She was all good with it. And then he says, yeah, I thought it was kind of cute. Karen says, yeah, me too, because it took me a little while. And then Andy says, oh, so can Jamal drive? Like, where did she get it from? And I'm like, not smooth, Andy. Because then he goes, oh, speaking of Jamal, really? That was your transition? So then he says, yes, so when did you guys actually break up? So then we get into this whole thing of the time and a little timeline of when did we shoot the reunion? Oh, but he did a live in December. And you guys, so she was kind of sounding like Sheree up there. She's like spring, winter, fall, joggers, September, spring. I was just like, she sounds just like Sheree. She has no idea. But yeah, we just get to the point that, of course, she was lying. We know they was lying about the whole thing. So then we talk about the binder and the fact that, did you guys break up because of the binder and everything? She's like, no, the binder didn't give me anything new. Me and Jamal had already talked about that. So Karen's like, well, then it sounds like you gave the okay to be the other woman. She's like, no, Karen, we were both. And she was about to say seeing other people or whatever, but Andy's like, so you guys were non-monogamous? She's like, no, we were figuring it out. And I just can't believe how much time we are spending on each one of these ladies. So Wendy and Giselle kind of get into it when viewer asks, Giselle, like, why are you so invested in all the other women in their relationships? But when Scala asks you, you kind of, shy away or whatever. And Candace is letting her know, you don't have the same kind of vulnerability that we have when we tell what's going on with us. Because she's like, nah, I've been telling. And Wendy is like, yeah, she's not opening up because she has a wall built, basically. And, she's scared, she's afraid to let go because she'll end up breaking down. And, Giselle is like, you don't know me. Wendy, you don't know me. And I was thinking the same thing. Like, Wendy, okay now. Okay, you don't know this girl. So they end up going back and forth about the fact that, she looks like she has no feelings, basically, is the way it came out to me. Because then Andy is like, oh, you take this man back and, he cheats on you again. Do you cry? And I'm like, what the fuck do y'all want from her? Like, do y'all want her to sit here and cry now? Would that make all of y'all feel better? I agree that Giselle does not share. She doesn't. The whole relationship with Jamal was a sham, which was a shame because you involved your daughters, who was not here for it, all for a TV storyline. Not cool. But what do you guys want her to do? Like, they literally want this girl to sit there and break down. It's ridiculous. So then we come back from another break, and you guys, we are still talking to Giselle about her relationship or lack thereof. And Karen is telling her, yeah, if you really kind of opened up and told your real story, you would be winning. You could probably help some people out. Bullshit. You just want to know her actual business. So it's whatever. And Robin jumps in and she's like, listen, you guys, people just deal with things differently. And I'm like, y'all know y'all can't fool with Giselle while Robin is here. And when she said that, Wendy is like, do they? Do they? She's like, you just want to interject and interrupt everybody. And I'm like, she really does. Wendy needs to shut the hell up. I'm sorry. I have been on her team this whole season, even though I'm not team Wendy. I didn't like her last year, but this year I felt like they kind of picked on her and bullied her a little bit. And I did like the fact that she had a backbone, but Wendy needs to shut up sometime. It's too much. But Robin does too. Robin needs to shut up all the time because all she's ever talking about is Giselle. That's her favorite subject. So someone from Instagram asked Karen why she's shaming Giselle so hard for her breakup with Jamal, and because her and Ray have had issues before. She's like, no, I'm not shaming her for that. I'm shaming her for her grown woman decisions that she made in terms of getting back with him, because she's better than that. She knew better than that. And then Wendy's eyes got all big, like, is she better than that? And I'm like, shut the hell up, Wendy. We said shut up. So Giselle finally tells them, listen, because Andy is like, your daughter said that, you're like an emotional vampire. She's like, look, I had to basically be hard in order to survive. That's what I had to do. I had to just kind of cut it off. And I'm like, I get it, girl. And I got it before she even said it. And Andy's like, yeah, like a defense mechanism. Well, yeah, of course. And then all the women are like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm like, y'all just so dumb. Actually, they just want to keep shaming her for being single. And I'm sorry, I never got into that whole shaming Giselle for being single thing, because when you're single, there's so much peace. There's so much peace. I swear to God, I've been single for a while and I love it. I love it because as soon as you get into a relationship, you got to tell people what you're doing, where you going, why didn't you answer the phone, this and that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So it's hard to give up your freaking peace. Well, for me, that's my thing. Just giving up the peace. All right, so then we get into Karen saying she did not shame Giselle for being single. That wasn't her deal. And I'm like, she does. And it was big with Wendy, though. That was Wendy's go-to. We know that all season that was Wendy's go-to. But Karen does it a lot too. But we get into how Giselle clowned her about raised taxes, and now Jamal is owing over $800,000 in taxes for 2008. And she's like, I don't care. It's not my business. We're not together. My taxes are paid. Karen jumps in. Hey, I got a little experience with it. And 2008, you guys are still married, so it is your business. She's like, no, it's not. You can shut up. And then Andy is like, well, it does kind of, still affects you because you still have daughters with him. So whatever's going on with him financially still affects you. She's like, listen, we're good. Okay, we're good. All right, so then we bring out a Scala, and she looks cute as usual. So Andy's like, nice to meet you. You have Twitter all abuzz about your fashion. She's like, oh yeah, that's cute. That's cute. So he's like, if you could make over anyone on this cast, who would you make over? Andy is so shady. You already know who she's gonna go for. She says Giselle. She would bring her current. I would bring her current. And Andy is like, so what do you think of that, Giselle? She's like, yeah, I don't care. No comment. And again, like he said, he's like, ouch, you just take a licking. and keep on ticking. And she's like, I just really don't care. And I believe she really don't care. And again, that's the one thing I have to give her. That's cool. And the fact that she really can take a licking and keep on ticking. That is why Giselle is not going anywhere from this show. She's not. So, yeah. All right, and just that fast, we're done with the scala. We are on to Candace. And we do this whole montage of Candace and her mom running around talking to all the women. And let's not forget about the fact that when they showed it, Robin was entertaining the crap out of Candace's mom. So wonder why she's not mad at Robin and Giselle, who said, oh yeah, that's kind of inappropriate for me to ask. But, well, is she paying them? Like, I want to know too. Like, is she has no issues with them whatsoever. Okay. So then we talk about the fact that she signed. That's cool. And then he asked Ashley about it. And, does it top Coffee and Love? She's like, no, I put my foot in Coffee and Love. And then they show Coffee and Love. And it's Coffee and hated it. Hated it. So, yeah. So Andy says, Chris is a cook, so what qualifies him to manage your music career? And she's like, well, it's not so much about him being the manager of my music career. He's managing me, basically, and what I'm doing and everything. And he's like, well, are you paying him? She says, she paused though, y'all. She paused and she's like, no. And then I'm thinking, well, how is she paying him? Because what money is she making? She was independent. She didn't really have any money. I don't know. And I just feel like they're married. So her money is his money anyway. What the hell difference does it make? Like, a lot of this stuff that these people be so concerned with, I don't care. Like, I don't understand why. Ooh, sorry guys if that messed up the sound. But I don't understand why that makes a difference in any of these people's lives. I don't. But Mia says, oh, if you're paying him. She says, no, she's paying him in love. Mia's like, if you're paying him in love, then that's prostitution. And I'm like, you're a dumbass. You're dumb. They're married. And she's like, well, you would know. She's like, I only speak on things that I know about. I have to admit, the way Mia owns her shit, like, it makes it hard to be really mad at her. She's irritating. She's messy for sure. But listen, she don't let all that stuff get to her either. I like it. So Andy is like, listen, Giselle, we know that you think Chris is, riding her coattails. What do the other women think? And right away, Ashley starts speaking. And I'm like, yes, of course you have an opinion. And she's like, yeah, we just think that, he lost the restaurant due to COVID. And he kind of lost his footing. He's drinking more than usual. And it's so funny because Candace was like, no, that's normal. That's normal. I'm like, I don't know if that's what we really want to say here. That's normal. She then gets into how he put on a couple pounds and this and that. And I'm like, Ashley, it's too much. You're just doing too much. Oh, he's just not the same Chris that we met. And I'm like, okay, a lot of people have changed during the pandemic. They really have. Why do we never talk about the fact that they lost their restaurant? Why is it that we never talk about what happened down under? And the fact that Australian shit just didn't work here. It just didn't. But we want to keep talking about how Chris's restaurant failed. Ashley, shut up. Speaking of down under, you guys, Outback is my shit. Okay? Let's not get it twisted. But they were doing authentic Australian cuisine, I guess, and that didn't work. Listen, Outback, they do steak. They do chicken. They do shrimp. They do stuff like that. So, yeah, Outback is my shit, you guys. All right, sorry, I digress. So let's get back to it. So a viewer asked Candice if Chris is on the deed and if Dottie is on the deed. She says, yes, Chris is on the deed. No, Dottie is not on the deed. And I'm like, dang, y'all asking if her husband is on the deed? Like, how? There is just nothing that these people won't ask. So Andy is like, well, at the video shoot, she kind of, hinted around to Robin like she was still involved some kind of way. Like she really did kind of hint around like she was still paying for something. And Candace is like, no, she's not involved in that way or whatever. She just likes to insert herself, but she's not involved. And Giselle is like, yeah, so now that you've seen it, how are you still mad at us about the fact that, do you see that your mom went around asking everybody what's going on? And she's like, yeah, granted, Mia asked some questions, but your mom was the one going around trying to get everybody to talk about your husband. And Candace is like, yeah, I saw that and I had to take her to the side and talk to her because, what she did really hurt Chris. So then the viewer asks, how did Chris, like the fact that her mom was talking about him so bad at the video shoot? She goes, I need a tissue. And he gets the tissue, and Giselle's like, I thought you were going to fold it. He's like, I was going to fold it. So then he ends up folding one. I'm like, it's so ridiculous that this girl folds her tissue this way. So she folds it. She's like, I'll fold it. She folds it and immediately, of course, starts crying, talking about how it really hurt Chris. And, her and his mom, he doesn't really talk to her mom anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I don't blame him, because she's really shitty. She really is. And then she said it's also hard for her because she has to go around his family. His family watches the show, and they see how his mom is treating him. And of course his family loves him. Don't nobody want their family member to be treated like crap. So yeah, they have an issue with it. So she's finding it hard to kind of navigate around everything. She's crying, saying that she don't think, they can come back from this. She doesn't know what to do to fix her family. And yeah, it's sad. I feel bad for Candace. I do feel like she's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like, you got to tell your mom to shut the hell up. No, you can't tell your mom to shut the hell up. Yeah, I don't know what she can do, but it's very rough. And after seeing that, I, again, totally agree with Chris not really fooling with her mom. So then we come back from the break, and we're talking about the video shoot. And Mia is telling her, listen, you spend $10,000 on it. It's low budget. And she was saying something about how when she gets there, she expects people to greet her, yada yada. For some reason, she was asking Robin, "You're a video girl. Is there supposed to be some kind of structure?" And Robin is saying, "Yeah." And I'm like, when was Robin? Oh, Robin was in somebody's video from what they said, right? Whatever. All right, so then we get a question for Scala. Yeah, she's still there. And someone is like, listen, you asked Karen outright if, she had a drinking problem, and you consider Mia rude? And she's like, well, I'm just direct. So, yeah, but she said that, could she have done it differently and not in front of everybody? Yes. So I guess she learned from that. And it reminded me of why I didn't like a Scala. I definitely, thought she was inserting herself in stuff and just like throwing comments out there to try to get noticed, and I didn't like it. But again, she redeemed herself later because her comments later then made sense, and she was, being more realistic and not just being so confrontational for no good reason. So Andy asked Candace if she knew anything about Mia's mom and, the comments that she was making. She said no, she really didn't. She says in the black community, they call that jonesing, and she was ungrateful. She just wasn't grateful. And he's like, what are you talking about? And it didn't make sense. Like, what the hell are you talking about, Candace? How is she ungrateful while you jonesing, or we say playing a dozen or whatever? Like, how is she ungrateful with that? Like, what do you mean? Andy is totally confused, as am I. So then Giselle says, listen, what Mia said pretty much did not warrant what came out of your mouth. And she's like, what are you talking about? This is what we do. She's like, we verbally assassinate each other. It's what we do. And Andy is just like, how's that working out for you? And you guys, this is the moment that made me think Candace is probably going to lose her job because of her mouth if she doesn't get it together. Because he's just like, your mouth, like, you're constantly getting in trouble because of your mouth, and you're not learning from it, basically. Just like the whole thing with Monique. And I know, Monique has stands out here or whatever, but Monique was fired. I'm sorry, I don't care who thinks Monique left on her own accord. She didn't. They allow you at Bravo to say that you're leaving or whatever, but I can tell you the moment Monique was not coming back is when they had that reunion, and Andy looked at her and said, you have zero remorse, huh? And she's like, yeah, no. And I was like, oh, she's done. She's done for. So if y'all want to believe that whole crap of Monique, she has so much money, she don't need it, she's not coming back. No, she was fired. And Candace is on her way because of her mouth. Okay, and here's how y'all know he was irritated with her, because he looked at her and said, no, I'm for real. I'm asking you for real. Like, how is that working out for you, the way you respond to people? And he's like, because you got into a physical altercation last year. She's like, you're saying that's my fault? He says, I'm saying you're the common denominator here. And then, of course, Giselle has to chime in with if, what she did, I guess, in throwing the salad or whatever. If Mia would have clocked her, then she wouldn't have said anything. And who cares, Giselle? We don't care what you feel or think about anything. But, Candace makes the comment that, I'm just good at it. We all use our words, we all throw shade and read and this and that. I'm just good at it. And I'm like, this girl does not learn at all. Listen, I like Candace. I'm not gonna lie, I like her just fine. I won't I won't miss her if she's gone. And he also said that, he gets the most DMs and messages about her being fired. And I'm like, really? Over Ashley's husband? Everybody wants Candace gone and not so much Michael? Really? So then, of course, we have to get into the fact that she threw the butter knife at Ashley. She's like, I didn't throw the butter knife at her. Then that's where Giselle kind of interjects and she's like, you threw the butter knife on the ground. She's like, Ashley was asked to leave my house. She brought her big face ass back in my house. Ashley is like, we have the same size forehead. So they get into that whole thing. And yeah, it's basically just round and round with Candace. All right, so we ended with Candace and Wendy expressing how they don't appreciate the fact that Mia said if her mom, loses her sobriety or whatever, or falls off the wagon, then she's blaming it on Candace. It's not fair. Wendy said, yes, she don't agree with that either. And Candace is like, you're the one who threw your mom to the wolves. You brought her on here for a storyline, and that was really shitty of you. I agree. Sorry, I agree. She did not paint her mom in a great light, and it didn't look like Mia was saying that her mom wanted to do it. It didn't look like it to me either. I'm sure they had to have her consent to do it. I just don't know if she knew exactly all the things that they were going to talk about during the show, because she looked a little blindsided at that first lunch. So I don't know. I have to agree with Candace and Wendy on this one, that Mia was wrong for the way she painted her mom, and she just kind of, I don't know, she did too much. But that was the end of the episode. If you are still here, then you are the real MVP, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I would love for you guys to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's talk about some things. I am sure I didn't say some stuff that y'all not agreeing with. It's okay. Let's talk about it, but keep it cute, as I always say. If you have not already, please like. I said that already, right? It don't matter. I can say it again. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next video. Smooches.